Hello, everybody, and welcome to At the Book for a Thursday, our Thursday edition show here on bet.nola.com. I'm Jim Derry, along with my friends Devin Jackson and Spencer The Guru Urquhart. Zach Ewing is taking a day off today. The big news of the day, obviously, guys, and before we get to that, I don't want to forget our sponsors here. Our show today is being presented to you by Tulane Doctors. We thank them for sponsoring our show. And, of course, our regular partner, Caesars Sportsbook. A reminder that you can bet up to $1,100 and get it insured using the code NOLA, CZR. Your first bet, anything up to $1,100 is insured. You can go bet one of our best bets tonight. We've been hot. Follow us. Suns -2 over the Mavs is our best bet today by Spencer. We are trying to win our best bet for the 5th day in a row, trying to stay hot. We even hit our big parlay. We'll get more into that when we talk about the NBA. But obviously, the big news, guys, today is the Saints' schedule has been leaked out. It always gets leaked out before the big show. And so we'll talk about that. And, I don't know what you guys think. Devin, you put the first half up there. But the NFL did not do the Saints any favors at all when I look at this. And I'm going to tell you why. If the Saints don't start out hot, they're in a world of hurt, in my opinion. They bunched most of these home games in the first half of the schedule with the London game. The bye week doesn't come until very late in the season. We're talking 10 days before Christmas before they get their bye week. No favors whatsoever. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I hate that talk. The NFL hates the Saints. The NFL doesn't hate the Saints. I'm sure this is how it's spit it out. But, guys, when you look at this schedule, what is the first thing that comes to mind? Devin, we'll start with you.
Yeah, right off the bat, they got 3 straight divisional games, so they're going to have to start off pretty good this season to have a chance to win a division. And it starts in weeks 1 and 2 against the Falcons and Bucks. You have to, find a way to win, if not won both of those games, especially against Tampa Bay. And you can't come out the season, like they did last year, kind of flip-flop every other week. They end up starting 5-2, but with this schedule, the first 5-6 weeks are going to be crucial, especially week 6 against Cincinnati. Surprised that hasn't been slated yet for primetime, but we'll see what happens. But those first 6 weeks, you got to go at least 4-2 in that stretch.
There's no doubt. I think 4-2 is the minimum. And I hate to put, I've always been one of those people who hates talking about must-wins and things like that early in the season, but they're going to be in a situation, Spencer, where they're going to have some must-wins early on. And like Devin talked about, you have to go 2-1. There's no question. And, I mean, obviously, you want to beat the Bucs. That's going to be the toughest one, starting on the road at Atlanta and then getting the Bucs and Panthers. Then going to London from Minnesota, who's going to be, I think, much tougher this season. That you have to start 2-1 going to London at the minimum.
Yeah, I agree, Jim, because you want to be in the division race, early. Like, you don't want to get in a hole there. And if they start off 1-2 there, which I feel like that's the minimum that I don't see, but even if that though, that's still below par. You want to be at least 2-1, hopefully 3-0. That'd be great. But I would say more realistically 2-1, being against those divisional opponents. Typically, the way the Saints schedule is shook out in recent years, a lot of divisional games come late. But this time around, it's not like that. You're going to have to start out hot. You're going to have to be ready to go from the opening snap there in week 1. And then going to London after that's no easy task against a tough Vikings team. And in that Seahawks game could be a little tricky. I mean, Seahawks aren't what they used to be, but can't take them for granted. And, yeah, Cincinnati, huge game there. It would be the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase homecoming and all that. But can't get distracted by all that. Got to take down the Bengals because that's going in, and it's a short week at Arizona right after that. So and then the Raiders, that's another thing. The Raiders is the 17th opponent, like that 5th AFC team you got to play. They're no easy team, but with Devontae Adams there now, and then Baltimore on Monday night. So, yeah, this is a really tough schedule, but I think the Saints team's built for it. They're having an elite defense and an offense that should be much improved from last year.
At the Book, being sponsored by Tulane Doctors. We thank them for that. Going back to Devin, if you could put the first half back up, here's another thing that I just don't like. And it seems like this has happened more often than not with the Saints as the past few years. And 4 out of 5 game stretch at home is great. But now you're being forced into a situation where you're going to have to, and it's okay. I mean, but it's not balanced. This is not a balanced schedule. You got 4 out of 5 at home from weeks 5 through 9, which again is great. You go on the road sandwiched in there on a short week. That's kind of weird. And it's at Arizona. But then when you go to the second half and look at the second half, this is just, to me, brutal. I mean, you talk about a week 12 through week 17 stretch of you're home once from from Thanksgiving until after Christmas, until New Year's, really. After New Year's. From Thanksgiving until after New Year's, you're home once, and it's against Atlanta. And that stretch of road games is not against patsies. You're talking about San Francisco, who certainly is going to be in the running for winning the NFC West. Tampa Bay, obviously, we know what Tampa Bay is. You get a bye week, which is super late. You hope you can make it to that week before anything bad happens. Then you get to stay home and play Atlanta, which is great. Then you go back on the road. You play at Cleveland. Deshaun Watson. I think Cleveland, to me, could be the favorite to win that division. I know people will scoff at that, but I think they very well could be. And then at Philadelphia in the NFC East, it's going to be a grab and on New Year's Day. So this is just, we thank our friend Jerry for writing in and saying he likes this schedule. I don't. I don't think obviously you're going to play the teams you're going to play. It's set on who you play and where you play them. But I don't think that this could have I don't think this schedule could have been put together any worse than it's been put together.
Well, I mean, you look at the stretch of games from pretty much week 6 until week 17. I mean, there's not a game there that the Saints can walk in and say they're 100% favorites. I mean, maybe Pittsburgh. We'll see who's starting quarterback for them. But, I mean, you look at Cincy, Arizona, Raiders, Ravens. I mean, those are all playoff teams from last year.
Yeah.
And then you look at the second half. Doesn't get much better. I mean, Steelers made the playoffs. The Rams, Super Bowl champions, 49ers. We know how good they were. They just beat out the Saints again in the playoffs. And then the Bucks. That week 14 bye is going to be much needed because, even if they get off to a good start, I mean, they're playing a gauntlet of games where pretty much every week you're getting somebody's best shot. And then we'll see how the Browns and Eagles kind of fare this year, but most people expect both of them to be at least in the playoff hunt at the end of the season. So, I mean, really the back half of the schedule from week 6 to 17, I mean, it's
brutal.
Every week you're getting somebody's best shot.
Yeah, and look, fans, Buddy D used to talk about riding the magic carpet. Jerry, I love you. I thank you for following us. I thank you. You've been on every week. You're a regular. We love you. We thank you for joining the show. But, man, if you ride that magic carpet thinking the Saints are going 13-4 with this schedule, you're going to have a very hard fall. The Saints are not going 13-4 with the schedule. They are not. The over-under on win total right now is still 7.5 at Caesars. I still think, I mean, I don't care how you put the schedule. I still think this is a better than 500 team. But you look at the odds here to win the Super Bowl, they haven't changed. Caesars has not changed any of these. I still think they're ridiculous. To win the Super Bowl, plus 5,000. To win the NFC, plus 2,000. To win NFC South, plus 500. That's absurd. You can't. They can play this schedule out 5 times. The Saints are going to win at least once. They're going to win the NFC South. I'm not sure what Tampa Bay's got to bring because to me, they're the only other threat to this Saints team in the division is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Obviously, they're the favorites. But the Saints at plus 500, y'all need to jump all over that. That is a gift. To make the playoffs, plus 170. Yes, and minus 200, no. I think there's value there, and we could talk about that. And now that you've seen the schedule, Spencer, what do you think about these numbers? It's more specifically the division and make the playoffs and the win total. I think there's serious value, especially on the make the playoffs. The win total, even though I've already played it big, the minus 140 is a scary thing, but I think the best value on this board is plus 170 to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I can see why the odds are what they are now with seeing the schedule because this is a really tough schedule with the AFC North and in the NFC West. Those are two brutal divisions that you catch there for those eight. When you play those divisions on each side of each conference. So yeah, that makes it tough. But I still believe the Saints will win at least 8 or 9 games to where there's still some value, but it's juiced to where I'd probably say the playoffs would be the best play. But I also like the NFC South, the 5-1. I
Yeah,
see a
I
lot
do
of
too.
value there because I feel like honestly that might be the Saints' best hope is to just win the division straight up. Because with the Bucks, they're getting older. There's no guarantee they're going to be as good as last year. Tom Brady's 45 years old. I know he's the GOAT and all that, but
Hey, man, 45 is young. I wish I was 45.
Yeah, for him, he's trying to do this reverse age stuff to where he looks younger now than he did when he first started in the league, or at least in better shape. But I don't know. I feel like though it's I keep saying it, and maybe one day I'll be right. I feel like Father Time's got to catch him at some point. So I definitely like the 5-1 to win the division because I think the Saints defense is right up there with the Bucks as far as the Bucks have a good defense, but I think the Saints defense is actually slightly better.
Uncle Big Nick is being completely facetious when he says my man Goodell because he's a 49ers fan. We'll talk with him next week when we talk PGA. I'm not going through his stuff right now. Jerry Port says he's trying to be positive. He says the Saints will win more than 7 games. That's a prediction. Okay. Joseph, thank you for joining. Absolutely amazing. I'm not sure what part is amazing, but the Saints will play 17 games next week. Bernard says it's going to go down week to week. The Saints are unpredictable. We lose the ones we're supposed to win. I see us winning 11 or 12. I think that's a bit optimistic, Bernard. I don't think 11 is impossible, but it could happen. I think that's a little bit positive. But the good thing, and one thing why I like the playoff number is people forget that oh Lord, Uncle Big Nick is all over the place today. One thing that people forget is there is an extra playoff position now. Yeah. So you don't have to win the division. And Devin, I mean, to me, I think 10 games get you in the playoffs for sure. 9 games might. So I think that's why I like the value on the plus 170 because I think if you're saying the Saints can make the playoffs, you get a plus 170 on a win total of 9. I know some books have 8.5 at minus 110. I'd rather play the playoffs at plus 170.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers look good for them to make the playoffs. It's just you look at the NFC, it's really going to come down to the same couple teams again. Obviously, the Rams are still going to be good this year, more than likely. We'll see what the Cardinals do this year. They could be in for a bit of a regression, but the 49ers are going to be around. And then you look at the other divisions, the Cowboys and Eagles could possibly each be taking a playoff spot if things go well for both of those clubs. And then the Vikings or Green Bay Packers are 2 teams to look at in NFC North. So for the Saints, it's really going to come down to how many wins can you get outside the division? Because I think they'll be fine in division. And, just based off of some, just looking at, these couple teams in the division, I mean, the Saints should win not all, most of their games, with the exception of Tampa. But it's going to come down to can they beat teams like Baltimore on a Monday night, or are they going to be able to beat the Steelers, or kind of those mid-tier teams that aren't quite elite. I think that's going to be really their whether or not they can make that playoff push. They have to beat the teams they're supposed to beat, or that they're better than. They can't have a Giants game like last year, or they can't have a Titans game or the games they lost last year. They have to win those close games to get in the playoffs because the margin of errors is it's even smaller this year than last year.
And going back to Bernard's comment, one thing that I think is interesting about this, he's right. In the past, the Saints have lost games they were supposed to win. You talk about the Giants game last year. The Saints, this is one thing that they will have to do. They cannot lose the games they're supposed to win. They will have to win every single one of those games they're supposed to win. They'll probably be favored to start off on the road at Atlanta. They'll be underdogs at home against Tampa Bay, and they'll be favored against Carolina. So right off the bat, again, I'm going to say this again. They'll be favored slightly right now. If we've already posted earlier a couple weeks ago that the Saints were 1-point favorites against Minnesota in London. That I think by the time they play that game, I think there's a good chance that may change. It wouldn't be surprised me if it's either Pick'em or the Vikes are a small favorite, but I think that starting off super hot is going to be key, not only because the schedule is backloaded and way tougher in the second half, but because I think that the Saints team, who as they get chemistry and try to figure each other out, and there are going to be some new pieces. We got to remember Jameis only played 7 games with his team. Mike Thomas is coming back. He's never played with Jameis Winston. Chris Olave is going to try to find his way in the starting lineup. We don't know what the running back situation is going to be. They're going to have to find chemistry, and they're going to have to start off hot, figuring out how to do that. And, Spencer, when you start off hot, it breeds confidence.
Yeah, exactly. I think the goal would be hopefully 5-1 after 6, but at the worst 4-2. You don't want to be 500 or below, because then you're just treading water, and in your season every week it feels like, if we lose, the season's over. So yeah, you definitely don't want to be in that territory. Start off hot, and then down the stretch, once they've got the chemistry down, that's when you got to steal a couple of those when you're underdog. Which they were good at last year. The Saints as dogs were amazing. So hopefully they can carry that underdog mentality into this season. And yeah, looking at it here, maybe that Rams game at home, at the 49ers, take one of those two. We seem to do well against Tampa Bay on the road, and that's in prime time. Hopefully rattle Brady's cage again. And then one of those at Cleveland and at Philly, need to win one of those two as well if you want to show you're a serious playoff contender.
Yeah, and one more time, put that second half back up there, because I think it's interesting, Devin, that we're going to move on in just a minute. But Jeff Duncan talks about his pivotal points of the schedule tomorrow in Datitude. Rod Walker is going to come on. He's made his predictions for all 17 games. He's going to talk about that on Datitude tomorrow morning on the podcast. You can find that anywhere you find your podcast. And also we'll have snippets on Facebook as well on our NOLA.com Facebook page, and the same place you found this At the Book show. But the big stretch for me, Spencer kind of touched on it, week 11 through week 17. Los Angeles Rams, San Francisco 49ers, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That specifically is the toughest part of this schedule, without question. 11 through 13, Rams at home after you come back home from Pittsburgh game that you have to win. It's Thanksgiving, always weird during Thanksgiving. You're going to have to find a way to win at least one of those 3 games, Rams, 49ers, and Bucs. We'll see what the Saints' record is by then, but hence you got to have confidence before you go into that. Yep,
100%. Yeah, it'll be very, very interesting to see what they can do here in that stretch, because I feel like you got to win at least one, hopefully 2 of those 3, because those are all big dogs in the NFC, and if you can hang and not only beat those teams to show that you're right up there, then hey, there's a chance this team could go very far come playoff time.
Playing on Christmas Eve, playing on New Year's Day. It's just that time. You get that every 5 years or so when the calendar happens in a weird way, and that is definitely the Saints. Uncle Big Nick, we're just going to – I don't know why I'm giving you love today or even giving you any attention at all, but Brady can't beat the Saints, no problem in that one. He's being facetious, but hey, Brady has only won one of the last 5 matchups against this team. And to me, this defense is better than it was before, and it was pretty darn good before. So we'll see what happens with that. Speaking of the Bucs, they have to play Kansas City in that extra game. So I find that interesting. So we'll be big Chiefs fans when that game comes down. I know that is a nationally televised game when Brady meets the Chiefs. So look, Tampa Bay's schedule is tougher than the Saints. So that's one thing the Saints obviously have going for them. It'll be interesting to see. You talk about the Super Bowl odds. Devin, when you look at these numbers, they haven't really changed a whole lot. Again, the schedule is just leaking out. It's not even out officially yet. It comes out tonight, I think, on the NFL Network and maybe ESPN as well. We may learn right now the Saints only have 3 primetime games. Maybe they'll have a 4th if they get a Sunday night game. Those won't, I don't know if they announced those right off the bat or if they announced some of them And I know there's some flex scheduling going on later on. So it's possible the Saints could get 4, but right now they only have 3. Hence their 7.5 expected win total. But on the Super Bowl odds list, and the Saints, we talked about them, they're plus 5,000. But who do you see on this list that maybe is a bargain to you?
Yeah, I don't really see any bargains at the top because I feel like those are the usual suspects: Bills, Bucks, and Chiefs. I mean, the Rams have some value. They just came off a Super Bowl win at plus 1,200. I actually kind of like those odds, and surprised they're not any higher because it's not like they didn't get any better and go out and get some more guys because they added Allen Robinson. They're still trying to add back Odell Beckham, so they're still going to have weapons to be a threat. You know, they added to the defense as well. But I would say the Rams, and then, you know, looking at this list, I mean, I don't see a lot here yet. And I'm not ready to be on the bandwagon of the Chargers or Broncos just yet because I feel like both of those teams are still have some holes on their team. So I would say probably the Rams here for now.
Spencer, I think there are a couple bargains, and one of them's not even mentioned here because Zach put these slots together, and he's like the expert who fades the Titans. I think the Titans, 22-1 right now, I think is an outstanding value. I'm not sure why Sharps. We talked about this all last year. The Sharps just don't like Tennessee, and maybe because they think they're one-dimensional, maybe because they don't like Ryan Tannehill. I think both of those things are overrated. In the Titans, we've seen them get hot at the end of a season and make a run. But the values that are on this list, to me, I like the 49ers at 15-1. And, you know, people joke about the Cowboys every year, but I think the Cowboys are going to be really good this year. I think there's great value there. And I am very interested in seeing how the Colts start. I have not seen their schedule yet. But to me, going into last year, if they didn't have such a brutal start to the schedule, they had the most brutal first half of a schedule as anyone last year. Hence why they got hot later in the year. So to me on this list, Colts, Niners. I know you like the Chargers, but Colts, Niners, and Cowboys, and then I like the Titans at 22-1.
For sure. Yeah, there could be some value with those AFC South teams being in there, kind of long odds, but whoever wins the division there should be a pretty good seed and could maybe make a run because they can both run the ball and play defense. And so, yeah, those teams are definitely some values there. I'm with you on the 49ers there at 15-1, but not with the Cowboys. I'm not buying the Cowboys at all. I'm thinking the Eagles jump them this year and take the division. I don't even think the Cowboys make the playoffs. I just don't really trust Dak Prescott.
Wow.
Maybe he'll prove me
you
wrong.
can bet that.
I don't know. I tell you what, though, the Packers at 11-1 isn't bad because I know their receiving core looks bad right now without, with Devontae going, but there's been some rumors that they might still be in play for another weapon. If they can add another weapon there to help out Aaron Rodgers, then they might be a decent value right now. They're at 11-1.
I like when we have dissent because it's something to talk about, and I completely disagree with you and the Packers. I think the Packers are a mess. I think that the morale is low there. I think they overachieved last year. I think Devontae Adams leaving the Packers, even though Aaron Rodgers stayed, tells me a whole lot about that team. I think their O-line is a mess. I think that the Vikings are going to be better than them this year. I think the Bears are actually going to make a step forward. I don't think they're going to win the division, but I think the Bears are going to be better. I think that division is going to be a lot tougher than it usually is. I think Detroit, and don't laugh, I love the Detroit over-under win total. I think it's 6.5 right now.
Detroit, I'm not with you on that. I think the Bears are horrible, but Detroit, I think, could be a potential.
I think the Lions are going to be a surprise
like 8
team.
games or something. Yeah, I'm with you on the Lions.
Yeah, I agree.
Bears look rough, but Lions, yeah. They can make some
I think the
noise.
Lions could be one of the surprise teams of the year. And I already put I just put a few bucks on it, but I think they're plus 150 or plus 15,000 or whatever it is, 150-1 to win the Super Bowl. The Bengals were the same thing last year. So I think the Lions could be this year's Bengals team. If you're looking for a long shot to pick, keep your eye on it. You don't have to bet it early because their odds aren't going to change. Even if they win a few games early in the season, the Lions odds aren't going to change very much. So that's a team that I would watch. And if they start out hot and win a couple big games, jump on the Lions at nice odds. All right, we're going to move on to the NBA, and we've talked about our best bets. And hey, I don't care. I'll brag. I mean, we've been hot. Spencer, Devin, I mean, we have been rolling. If you've been following our picks the past week, for sure, you have been hitting. And in May alone, we are just on fire. And in fact, our overall number, we are way in the positive now because of the last week and a half that we've had. And yesterday, we even hit our money line parlay. Devin was shaking his head before the show started. I think he's shocked at. I think we're all shocked at what Memphis did to Golden State last night. Let's get real. It to me shows a huge hole in the Warriors, and why. Devin, I'm gonna start with you. It's why I couldn't bet the Warriors. There's something weird about that team. It's why I can't bet them to win the title. It's why I think if they get in a series with Phoenix that they're going to lose. This is not – the Golden State Warriors are not a championship team. Real quick, I'm going to just show this. Melanie Mercado asked where the schedules are. You can go to NOLA.com/sports/Saints, and you can see the schedule is up on our site, NOLA.com, and they will talk about it more tonight on NFL Network and ESPN2, Barry Port does. But, Devin, I'm going to start off with the Warriors. I don't think you can bet them at all. We've said for the last 3-4 weeks there's no value in betting them. And they can win by 30, and as they showed last night, they went down by 52 at one point to a Memphis team that was without one of the best players in the NBA.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about the Warriors now, because to me, like, I feel like their style of play is very chaotic. Like, they can, if they're making their shots and they're moving the ball, and Klay Thompson and Steph Curry are making crazy threes, they're hard to defend. Yeah. But when they're missing, they don't have offense outside of those two. It was just shown, on national TV last night. I like Jordan Poole, but he is for sure, the third scorer on that team. And when they're not hitting perimeter shots, I mean, they're turning the ball over at a crazy pace. Like, it's.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. I don't know if Devin froze up there. I'm going to show again. I hate to jump around, but we have a question from a watcher reader. Justin LaGrange asked if you had to pick a road game to go to. Again, we're going to go right back to the NBA, but I want to answer the reader's questions. If you had to pick a road game, Spence, not including the London game, what game would you pick to go to?
Oh, man, that's tough. I would probably say the 49ers is on. Oh, okay. The 49ers I'm wanting to say was on the road in the second. Yeah. That'd probably be it. I think that's going to be a very fun game there. It's going to be a hostile environment. And, man, I just hope the Saints come away with the win, because the 49ers, we all know the history back when they were division rivals and all that. And the Saints, even recently in the playoffs at the 2011, the Vernon Davis thing, that's just, yeah. And then the Jimmy Graham push off not too long after that, which I still don't think that was a push off. But anyway, that game's going to be fun right after Thanksgiving.
It was 11 years ago, Spence. Let it go.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, gotta let it go. Yeah, but anyway, that game's going to be really fun. And I think whether it's Jimmy or Trey Lance, it's not going to matter. The 49ers are going to be tough because they can play defense. And yeah, it's usually always a competitive contest.
Well, Justin, I'm going to say if it weren't being played on Christmas Eve, I do not want to spend Christmas in Cleveland. Okay, so under normal circumstances, I would say go and check out the Dog Pound would be pretty darn cool, and that would be my number one pick. But again, I ain't spending Christmas in Cleveland. Sorry, Cleveland, but remember what Sam White said way back when. I'd probably pick San Francisco on this list, or I think going to Pittsburgh or going to Tampa Bay if you haven't been there. Both pretty cool settings to move on. All right, let's get back to the NBA. And Tehran says he doesn't think Phoenix is that good either. The West is wide open. I completely disagree. I think Phoenix is the best team in the NBA. You could make an argument that the Bucks Celtics winner is going to have an excellent chance to win. I don't think Miami has that much of a chance. But you look at tonight's games, and an interesting matchup here. Our play of the night I'm going to go ahead and give it away. Why not? You've come this far with us. Spencer wrote the best bets today. I think we're all in agreement. Devin, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but Suns -2 over the Mavericks. I think that Phoenix closes it out tonight. Again, we've talked about Phoenix's success against Dallas over the past couple seasons. They had won 9 in a row against them before they went to Dallas and lost 2 straight. I think this game at Dallas can be a little bit different tonight. Although I will say this. I think that the officials are going to be like they were back in Game 4, and they're going to try to get to don't throw out the conspiracy theories, but I think that the NBA desperately wants this series to go to 7 games, and so the Mavericks are going to get all the calls. It's the only thing that scares me, but I think the Suns are that much better than the Mavericks.
Yeah, I think the Suns, I think they're going to close it out tonight. I mean, they just like against the Pelicans, they ended up 2-2 after Game 4, and people were doubting if they were going to, go ahead and still win the series. But I think they close it out tonight. They understand the importance of closing out, teams that they're better than. Some of the, I think which is probably going to be the reason the Warriors end up losing to the Suns next round, is when you have a chance to put away a team, you have to do it. Because a young team like Memphis, they're just going to continue to grow confidence the longer the series goes on. So I think for the Suns, they understand how important it is. I think Chris Paul has a signature night. Devin Booker comes ready to play. And I think they beat them up on the boards, and I think they win pretty convincingly, even though Luka probably has a big night.
Chris Paul has to be careful, because if it's anything like Game 4, the refs are going to be out there, and he tries that little – the short stop thing to get the guy to run over him and call. It's going to be called the other way. Any kind of little ticky-tack thing, they're going to call it on Chris Paul. I agree he's going to have a good night. I think he's smart enough to realize he may be the smartest player in the NBA, to be honest. I mean, he knows how to get calls and make things happen. I think he'll realize what he's in for tonight. And so I agree. And Spencer, we talked, and I'm glad you put – I know that we talked about the over/under in the Philadelphia game. I really don't – I don't have a feeling either way on the game itself, but I do like the over. They've been kind of going back and forth with the over/under. And when you talk about 2 teams, I think they're going to be – both these teams are going to be hyper-focused. I think it's going to be a tight game. I think it's going to be a fun game to watch. If I had to pick one, I think the Sixers are going to win the game, but I'm more like the over 207, and not just because it's super low for an NBA game, but I think these teams are going to play really well and be focused tonight, and that's why I like the over.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because I think the Sixers, I know the Heat play great defense, but the Sixers, I mean, this is their life. I mean, this is their seasons on the line here, so they're going to be, like you said, hyper-focused. And Joel Embiid, I mentioned it in the write-up, he's got a big chip on his shoulder. Got the MVP, didn't get the MVP, even though he could have easily gotten it, and then he's been playing with that face mask, man. He looks scary in that thing. He's like, it's like, man, he's
Jason.
Exactly. Yeah, he's gonna have a big chip on his shoulder, and I think this is a night where he really comes out and scores a bunch. I'm thinking 30 plus for him tonight. So while it'll be tough to win, because the Heat are gonna be on it too with Bam, Jimmy Butler, and those guys. So it's not gonna be easy, but I think that goes over for sure. Because these guys they're gonna be trading blows.
Well, we'll see who Zach picks tomorrow night, but I think Memphis is going to play well again tomorrow night. I don't necessarily think they're going to win, but I think they're going to play a tight game. I have not seen that line, but because I haven't looked, but I'm guessing it's about 6. Have either one of you seen the line for tomorrow night?
No, yeah, I can check real quick though. But
okay,
yeah, here's the series odds in the.
Yeah, and if you look at the series odds, I don't know if there's value in the Mavericks at 550. I'll be honest. I don't. I mean, the Grizzlies at 800. I'm sorry.
The Grizzlies are 8-point dogs tomorrow.
8-point dogs. Well, I definitely like the 8 points there. I'll have to check it out, and we'll make our picks tomorrow. I think Zach's going to make the picks tomorrow, so we'll see how that goes and what he decides to pick. Zach is all over the Celtics. He thinks that they still could come back. I'm not. He is plus 210, maybe a little value there. I'm not convinced the Bucks are going to win the series because, look, both these teams can win on the road. I don't. It doesn't surprise me that these numbers are what they are. The Bucks are the defending champions for a reason. Devin, Do you see any value here? I really don't. If there's anything, if I had to pick one to get the best value, I'd probably take the Celtics. But to me, the only closest thing to a sure thing is the Suns, but I'm not laying 800.
Yeah, I honestly wouldn't put any. I mean, maybe you can put a few dollars on the Grizzlies, assuming you think they're going to win at Golden State tomorrow. But it would be different to me if they were going back home to Memphis in Game 6 as opposed to going to the Chase Center in Game 6, because I mean that crowd has lifted them to so many wins, even just in this postseason. So I don't love anything here on the board. Maybe the Celtics probably is the best play just because they could easily win the next 2 games, and find a way to close up the series. But they could also just lose game 6 game 6 straight up, just because they have lost 2 games now in the series in their own hands.
I will say this: you're probably better off just playing the Celtics money line at this point. That way you don't need them to win 2 games, Spencer. This is a case where, if you like the Grizzlies to win Game 6, then you bet plus 800 on the series. Conversely, if you like the Celtics to come back, I think you play them on the money line here and then wait and see what happens in Game 7 with the numbers are, because they're going to be pretty. I think they'll probably be minus 150, or you probably get them at -2 or something like that. I think that if you like the Celtics, you stay away from the plus 210 and you just take the money line tomorrow night.
Yeah, I definitely would play the Celtics here if I had to pick. I just don't see Memphis going to Golden State and being able to carry that momentum over. I really don't. I see Golden State bouncing back and putting that series away. They're a different team at home. I don't think they're going to be able to beat Phoenix because they're the lower seed. If they were the higher seed, I'd probably think they could still do it because they're just so dominant in their house. But Memphis is a good story, but I think it comes to an end with Boston, though. Boston, I still think gets it done in 7. So, Zach, if you're listening, there's still hope for your Celtics.
I think Milwaukee actually wins in 7, but because I think Boston's going to win tomorrow night. I really do. That's what this series has been. It's been up and down. It's been crazy. It's been unpredictable. Anything you think is going to happen, the opposite happens. So I actually like Boston tomorrow night, but I think that the Bucks are going to win Game 7 on the road, as weird as that sounds. And we quickly look at our NBA title odds because we only got about 7 minutes in the show. We still got to talk about football. Justin LaGrange, I'm going to get to your question in just a minute, but we want to talk NBA title odds real quick, about 30 seconds each, guys. Any value on this board to me? I've already got the Suns, Bucks, and Grizz, and I certainly wouldn't play the Grizz now. To me, if you're looking for straight value and only value, and because you want to win a little money, I think maybe the Celtics at plus 1,000. Maybe I'm not going to play it, but I actually think the Sixers at plus 3,500. I don't think they're going to win the championship, but I think they have a chance to get past this series. And if they get past this series, anything can happen in a conference finals. Plus 3,500 to me seems like one heck of a bargain. Devin, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think 76ers aren't a bad play here. You just have to hope they win tonight and extend the series. I think that's the most important thing. But, I mean, we've seen when, Joel Embiid is in the lineup, James Harden is playing well, they can beat this Heat team pretty easily. But is what James Harden is going to show up? I don't know if I would put any money down just based on that fact. That's the only thing that I will have a drawback from, is that he's not. Is he going to play well enough for them to win? And I don't have the answer to that. But I do like Boston on this list. I do think, if there's anything you put money down, you do so. Because I put money down plus 600 with Milwaukee back in, I want to say January, February. I think that's probably the best value we're going to get for the Bucks. But I think the Celtics probably are the best here.
Yeah, I don't think any of these numbers you're not going to get better numbers than you have on any of these teams right now. Because if they win Game 6 and move on, then their numbers are going to go down. If they win Game 6 and force a Game 7, same deal. I mean, if the Sixers force a Game 7, they're certainly not going to stay at 3,500. They're going to probably drop to like 22. So Spencer, 30 seconds before we move on to football. If you got anything you want to play here.
Yeah, maybe Boston, but honestly, I wouldn't really mess with this. If I had to pick one of the favorites, though, I know there's not that much value left, but Phoenix, I would take over Golden State there at plus 220.
I agree. And I think that there's not value, but if you want to make a bet, I think there is. I think the plus 220 is playable. I think the Suns are the best team in the NBA. I've said it. I still think they're the best team in the NBA. And I think they're on a mission. And I always like to take teams on a mission. I already took them at plus 500. I wish I would have put a little bit more on it because, honestly, I don't think it's close. I really don't. I just don't think it's close. I think Phoenix is clearly the best team in the NBA, and the way they're playing right now, they're not going to get beat. Okay, Justin, we're going to go back to your comment here because we're going to shift gears and go to the USFL. Before we do, one last NFL question. Help me with an argument. Best defensive player in the league. I'm assuming which Watt are we talking about?
TJ.
I would say TJ probably.
Okay,
TJ,
me too. Or Aaron Donald. And look, I think it's close. TJ Watt is a fantastic player. It's hard when you play for a team that's just mediocre in the Steelers, and I don't know what they're going to do this year. They got a whole new quarterback situation. I got to say it's Aaron Donald, but Aaron Donald is getting up there. He's getting a little bit long in the tooth. I'm not sure that I'd bet on him to win Defensive Player of the Year if that's where we're going.
Yeah, I would say it's Aaron Donald. And honestly, you can just look at the Super Bowl for an example. I mean,
he should have been Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah, I'm still mad I didn't hit that one because that was
me
crazy
too. I had
bargain.
it too.
But yeah, I think it's Aaron Donald. He just what he does, he makes everyone around him better on that defense, and
he does.
Like we said, he closed out the game against Cincinnati. He was the reason Cincinnati couldn't move the ball pretty much in that fourth quarter. So I like TJ Watt. I think he's a rising star in this league. But health is going to be the thing for him going forward because he missed some games with injury, and Aaron Donald's pretty much an Iron Man. And, just more continuous production every single year that the Aaron Donald's put up.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about the Watt brothers, but they seem to not be able to stay healthy for 17 games. And that to me factors in. If you're going to take one or the other, I will say this. If I had to pick one to take on my team right now, I would probably take TJ only because I could keep him for longer. He's younger, much younger. I think Aaron Donald's got a couple years left, especially at this level. But if you're asking me if the argument is who is the best defensive player in the league right now, I think it's Aaron Donald.
Yeah, I think he nailed it, Jim. Because I would say if I was starting a team, I'd take TJ Watt because he's younger, has more elite years than him. But if it's just a 1 year thing, like who's better for this year, then yeah, it's got to be Donald.
All right, let's move on to the USFL. And we have not talked enough about our New Orleans Breakers, who are 3-1. They're going to face the New Jersey Generals in the nationally televised game on Fox Saturday at 2:00. One of the things that I find most interesting about this, we have been racking up with the unders, but that Las Vegas has caught on, and they have lowered this under to 36.5. Breakers hit the under again last week. It was 39.5 at game time. It went from 41 to 39.5, and they still hit the under by 0.5 point. Have not gone through this game well enough. I know that it has been all defense for the New Orleans Breakers. How much have you guys been following? I've followed quite a bit. I've actually watched I wouldn't say most of every game. I've watched all of the Breakers games, and I've watched at least some of every other game because I DVR them and I have no life. Spencer, what do you think about the USFL so far?
I actually finally got to catch a Breakers game this past weekend, and it was all right. It was a little sloppy. Sloter throwing the 3 picks, but he redeemed himself late, and they came back. And yeah, I mean, it was not the best, but it was, it was football. It was football, so I wasn't hating on it. It's hopefully the Breakers can make a run because I think once they get more chemistry and get into the later part of the season, the product on field should pick up.
Devin, this is an interesting game because New Jersey to me is the best team in the other conference. I don't even think it's close, to be honest. Kyle Sloter is the best quarterback in this league, but it goes to show I think quarterbacks and kickers are way behind NFL talent. I think the offensive lines are way behind NFL talent. But really, if you look at the other positions, especially at the skill spots and wide receivers specifically, there are tons of wide receivers in this USFL that I think can play in the NFL, which makes the league interesting. But as far as the Breakers go, they've got to rely on their defense. They have been relying on the defense. And if Sloter picked it up, this Breakers team could be the winner of this league.
Yeah, I wrote an article earlier this week kind of recapping through them through 4 games. And what I found interesting was they have the leading rusher, passer, and receiver so far in the USFL. So they clearly, have an emphasis on the offensive side of the ball, but their defense is really good too. So I think for them, they have to continue to air it out, but that will be how much time can they give Sloter, because he seems at least miles ahead of the other quarterbacks in the league so far. And coming in, people thought maybe Jordan Ta'amu or some of those other guys might be a little bit better, but he's been the best so far. And honestly, I kind of like
been awful. Shea Patterson's been awful.
I kind of like the over in this game because I think the Breakers are going to put up some points. I think Generals have been pretty steady as well offensively, and just do not. The only thing I worry about that is that there's going to be a missed kick at the end of the game, which can make it go 39 or 40 over. And special teams has been rough. That's probably been the roughest part of the USFL so far.
I will say this, and I think we talk about overreaction all the time, and I think that Vegas is overreacted here. I like the over as well. I think they're overreacting to what they've seen so far. They go from one extreme to the other. They went from 41 to basically 36.5, and the Generals are okay defensively, but I like the over in this game as well. In fact, that maybe, Zach's got best bets Friday and Saturday, but it could be one of our best bet plays. We're going to skip the PGA because we're going to talk more about the PGA coming up. Second major for golf is coming up next week. We're going to talk about the PGA Championship on Monday, I'm sure, in our Bayou Bet show. We will definitely be talking about it on Datitude. I've got a special guest coming on Datitude next Wednesday, special edition, Andy Lack, who is, if you know anything about golf betting and you followed it at all, Andy Lack is a guy that I have learned to follow and really knows what he's talking about. He is a golfer who has turned into a golf betting analyst, and I'm really looking forward to having him on the show on Wednesday. And Uncle Big Nick will be on the show as well to give us his thoughts on the PGA. So we'll be talking about that. We're going to wrap up the show here. We're going to give you guys final thoughts. I'm going to start with you, Spencer. What are your final thoughts here on this At the Book show sponsored by Tulane Doctors?
All right, that's with the same schedule. It looks tough on paper, but don't panic. This is a solid team that's built for this. They got a lot of veterans on the roster on both sides, especially on defense. I think the leadership with Cam Jordan, DeMario Davis, will be able to help the team navigate through the tough parts of the schedule there, and hopefully get a playoff bid and be a value play for those looking to wager, because the Caesars is definitely seem to be sleeping on our Saints a little bit. So hopefully they can come through.
Devin?
Speaking of Caesars, they just released the week 1 line for the Falcons and Saints, and looks like the Saints are 3-point favorites early on in this one. Over-under set at 42, and Saints are minus 170 on the money line. So thought I'd mention that here as we close up the show. Week 1 line starting to be released here. But, I think you just got to sit back and just relax. It's only May. We still got a couple months out to the NFL season. So I wouldn't be too upset about the schedule, because I also saw that the Saints, I think, have the 6th hardest schedule by win percentage in NFL this year. So it's going to be tough, but, they don't have the toughest yet. We'll see what happens. But still plenty of time to go before the season. I wouldn't panic too much yet.
A couple final thoughts. One very quickly. Remember what we said about Rich Strike, the winner of the Kentucky Derby? We wouldn't be surprised if he didn't run in one of the next big races. Well, guess what? He's already been listed as out. Why is that? let's do some investigating into Rich Strike. Look, it's a great story. An 80-1 shot wins the Kentucky Derby, and some people out there made a lot of money. But let's do an investigation. Seriously, that didn't just happen naturally. It couldn't have. It doesn't happen like that. Somebody needs to look in that. I'm going to bring that up on Datitude as well tomorrow. And speaking of Datitude, we're going to be talking with Rod Walker tomorrow, our columnist here at the Times-Picayune and the Advocate. He has released his predictions on all 17 games. I'm going to get his thoughts. I'm going to go deeper into my own thoughts, in which the NFL didn't do the Saints any favors. And it's not a conspiracy theory. I think they just fit it the way that they can fit it. That's the way that it fit. But it did not come out in the Saints' favor. As Spencer says, don't panic. I'm not going to panic, but I still think the Saints are a 9-win team or so. I'll go more into the schedule when we get through the summer and we see how Jameis. We don't even know if Jameis is going to be healthy enough to play early on in the season. So that's going to be a big story, which makes the signing of Andy Dalton that much more important. And we'll talk more about that in Datitude. But it's been a great show here, guys. I think we've done we've talked about the schedule a lot. We're going to be talking about it more as we go forward. Mini camps coming up, workouts coming up, and the good news for everyone is Zach Ewing will be back on Monday. So make sure you join us then. We want to thank Tulane Doctors. We want to thank Caesars Sportsbook for sponsoring our show. We will see you on Monday. I'll see you tomorrow on Datitude. You've been watching At the Book. Devin Jackson, Spencer, the Guru Urquhart. I'm Jim Derry. So long, everybody.